Hare Krishna, Father. Yes, thank you very much for joining and keeping your appointment with Krishna today. Today is 18th of June, 2026. So today the two verses from Bhagavad Gita is 2.60 and 2.61. So let us start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय महाविष्णु स्वामिते नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय जय श्री कृष्ण. So let us recite these two verses first. Second chapter Bhagavad Gita, verse number 60 and 61. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashchitah indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manah. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. 61st verse. Tani sarvani samyamya yuktasita matparah vashe hi yasyendriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, very important chapter, actually, second chapter. I think it's a full summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. See, everybody might be seeing these acharyas who are coming in Maharaj, right? Pure devotees. So you like sometimes you are curious to know, no, how they became such. What are their daily activities? How do they perform? So Arjuna also had the same doubt. So he asked four questions in the 54th verse, no, 2.54. It says, Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava. Stadi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrjeta kim. So in the 2.54th verse, he's asking four questions. So these four questions, one is the general one. Then how does he speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? Right? So just to know. So Krishna starts answering all these questions one by one from 2.55 onwards till the last verse of this chapter. So these verses are very important. In fact, we should go on reading these from first the 2.5 question and on from 55 onwards. How was Stita Pragya? Very right, very steady, fixed in mind and Krishna. How can we be like that? Very practical. That's what is practical points from Bhagavad Gita we have to take. So to just go through from 55 on to the 72nd verse, right? These verses are very, very important. Like Guru Maharaj also used to say, you have to be completely thorough with these verses, memorizing, trying to understand, putting into practice. So you can also become completely determined, completely fixed in mind and senses on Krishna. See the 2.60 words, no? It says the main theme is that without developing a higher taste, right? You should have a higher taste. Without that, there is no other effective means to control the senses. Right? You might be eating chocolates, so many other material sense gratificant items, right? But if you are supposed to leave that, then you should give something better. Then automatically you will. Forcefully, you cannot, like a child, you cannot forcefully ask him not to eat chocolates. You give him something better than the chocolates, even forget about chocolate. He will say. So that's higher taste. So we have to develop that higher taste. Otherwise, there is no other method by which we can control the senses. So this is the only way to fix our mind and senses on Krishna. So the question is, in this 2.60 verse, no, it says, it explains how to use the transcendental knowledge in our day-to-day life. We have knowledge, right? But unless you put it into practice, what's the use of the knowledge? You have the knowledge that you have to get up early for Mangalarti. You know, have the knowledge, but if you don't get up, then what is the use of the knowledge? Right? Practical application is very, very important. That's why if you remember DUA, Dua means blessing itself. DUA. First you discover, when you read a verse and translation purport, you discover something. Then after discovering, you understand what it means and how it is. Then you apply. So if you remember Dua, discover, understand, and apply. So these three things very important for each verse when you read and the translation purpose. See, we are all actually living, everybody wants a very good health, right? But actually we are living in an atmosphere, anti-health atmosphere. So how can we get a good health? Early to bed and early to rise. Healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? So the early to bed and early to rise, it has become almost impossible. Why? Because of our increasing material engagements. But there's some silver lining. Of course, we have to do our responsibilities, right? It's not that we completely leave it and only sit, chant, and no. So, despite these material engagements, the responsibilities which you have to do, we have to continue doing that. With that, also, if we still engage ourselves in Krishna's service, that's why Krishna now says the senses are so strong and impetuous, Arjuna, they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. The person is wanted to control, but still he is taken away, right? So, but it is possible. That's what Krishna is telling. It is very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious. Without engaging the mind in Krishna, one cannot stop the mental engagements. See, if you look at the life of the Goswamis, six Goswamis of Vrindavana, see, right from the day when they were serving the Muslim Nawab, they were performing their duties very nicely. In spite of their intense hankering, they all had the hankering to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and surrender their lives to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they were very extremely eager, they were very anxious to serve the Lord. So they sent so many letters, expressing their desire. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied to them. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted a verse from the scriptures. He said, the meaning was that if a woman is involved with a man other than her husband, okay, she may try to be especially diligent in her household duties. So in this way, she seeks to avoid being detected. So within her heart, however, she's always longing to be reunited with her paramour. So she does her duties in such a way, very smartly. So no, doesn't get detected, but her mind is always thinking about the other person, right? Other than her husband. See, the Goswamis understood. By this example, he understood what the Lord meant. So they rendered their worldly duties with greater attention. See, if you start in the office, if you start reading Bhagavad Gita, chanting, then you'll be detected. What are you doing? You're supposed to work, right? So you work, but keeping Krishna at the center, you can still remember Krishna, right? So, before starting in the mind only, you can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra or pray to Krishna and then start your work, right? And after that, you can be grateful. Thank you, Krishna, for giving me this opportunity. So automatically, you are in Krishna conscious itself. So you're doing a duty as well. So the Goswamis did the same thing, and they were doing the sadhana also. So please, by this way, they were engaging their minds in devotional service. So automatically, what happens? Krishna will make all the necessary arrangements for us to be more involved in devotional service. So to apply this point, we should start by leading a regulated life, whether in going to school, students, or whether we are doing a job or in the family. See, to pass in the examinations, it is necessary, to wake up early and complete the day's assignment properly, regulated. Thereby, what will happen? It will reduce unnecessary tension. Oh, I could not complete this, right? And also, we'll do a quality work in our assignments. There's a very good saying: procrastination is a thief of time. You know what is procrastination? Do it tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. Kal karenge. You can do it now, right? So procrastination is a thief of time. So we should practice this habit in our work, in many assignments, wherever we do, very perfectly, very strictly, right? Discipline, commitment, and discipline is very important. See, smart people, they are welcome everywhere. And as devotees, no, we need to follow the perfect examples of Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, and our acharyas in the parampara. In fact, in the purport of 1517 of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada explains the difference between regulated and unregulated life. Those who are engaged, simply in sense gratifications without knowledge of the next life, or right, they belong to the non-regulated section. And all those who follow the principles of these prescribed duties, Varnashrama, they are classified as regulated section. See, the non-regulated section, right? Both civilized and non-civilized, educated, non-educated, strong and weak, they are all full of these animal propensities. See, animal does eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They also do. Human being also eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But we do in a better, sophisticated way. But there is no difference between animal and us, right? But we have got the prerogative, the reasoning power, what is right and what is wrong. If we don't use that, there is you're now no better than an animal, right? See, animal activities are never auspicious because enjoying animal propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, right? They perpetually remain in mental existence. And mental existence is always miserable. See, on the other hand, those who are regulated, right, by the scriptural injunctions, they gradually rise to Krishna consciousness and they progress in life. See, there are very beautiful and important words from Bhagavatam 4:31-19. Very beautiful. Dayaya sarva bhuteshu santushtyayena kenava sarve indriya upashantyacha tushyatiyashu janardana. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied some or the other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. Three important actions we can do, which when we practice, no, we will please Lord Krishna immediately. What are the three actions? Dayaya sarvabhuteshu, merciful to all living entities. Santushta yena kenava, satisfied under any circumstances. Sarvendriya upashantyacha, controlling senses. So today, we are all certified as MSc. We got post-graduation, Master of Science, right? MSc. What is MSc? M is first line, Daya Sarvabhuteshu. So merciful to all living entities. M, merciful. Then Santushcha Yenakena, satisfied, right? Satisfied under any circumstances, good or bad. So satisfaction, S. Then Sarva Indriya Upashantyacha, or controlling of the senses, C. So if you do this, if you're merciful to everybody, if you're satisfied under any circumstances, and you control the senses, Tushyati Ashu Janardana. Krishna will be immediately satisfied. So you should just remember this MSc acronym. Merciful, satisfied, controlled. So when Lord Krishna is pleased, that is the highest perfection. Sam Siddhir Hari Toshana. So it's important that whatever occupation we are engaged, right? We have to please Lord Krishna by that occupation. Yat Karoshi Yat Dashna, right? Beautifully given in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada, in his wonderful purport, explains that the best way to show mercy to all living entities is to spread Krishna consciousness. Speak about Krishna, this whatever you learn here, speak to others. Yare deke upadesh, Krishna upadesh, right? So those who are actually learned, those who are advanced in spiritual understanding, they should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. So it's a much example, Srila Prabhupada and all the gurus in our parampara, right? Pure devotees. So in spite of so many difficulties we can see, right? Which we will not understand. They travel all over the world only to spread Krishna consciousness. So this is the real meaning of Dayaya Sarva Bhuteshu. See, regarding satisfaction, Prabhupada says in 10.5 Bhagavad Gita, one should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity. One should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Then in 17.16 Bhagavad Gita, he says how one can attain this satisfaction. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. And the best way is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories. The Puranas, Mahabharata, right? See, senses are so strong that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. That's what 2.60 we saw just now. So even though a person has control over the senses, he may not have over all the sense objects unless he is totally Krishna conscious. Example of Vishwamitra, great sage Vishwamitra. He was misled by Menaka. Although he was a yogi, he was endeavoring for sense control, right, through yoga practice. So what to speak of us? So, see, the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, right? If the soul is engaged directly with the Supreme, naturally all the other right things like the intelligence, mind, they will automatically be engaged. To please Krishna, we have to practice MSC, mercy, satisfaction, control. And to practice, we have to engage ourselves more. In what? Reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Small books are there. See, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad, maybe you might not be able to carry, right? Small books are there. When you're traveling, take some small books and read. So we'll come to know the real meaning of MSC. So even if this is not going into the mind, no, right? Then it is better to take up the advice of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura. What does he say? To control the mind, one should beat it with shoes, chappal se maro, many times, just after waking up and also before going to sleep. In this way, one can control. See, this value of human life, it must be passed on to the younger generation. Otherwise, younger generation will be mad. They'll become mad. Without Krishna, they will lose their senses. See, times are coming, very bad times, right? We can see ourselves, how we were some 10, 15, 30 years, 50 years before also. So what is happening now? Very difficult, right? So we have to give them this consciousness so that they can withstand all the difficulties which they encounter. See, in 4 verses, 2.58, 59, 60, and 61, Krishna discusses how to control the senses. So he explains the method of restriction from sense objects and its risks. He gives a glimpse of Bhakti Yoga by which one engages senses in the devotional service of Krishna. That's why in 61, 2.61, Krishna gives himself as the topmost goal of yoga. Tani sarvani samyamya yuktayasita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. One who restrains the senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, he is known as a man of steady intelligence. In the purport, Prabhupada gives 3 points. Number one whose senses and mind are fully engaged in Krishna is the topmost yogi. Number 2, if one is not Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. And number 3, the Yoga Sutra prescribes meditation on Vishnu form and not on the void. Yoga Sutra refers to the great work of Patanjali Muni, right? Which describes the system of Ashtanga Yoga. So, fully engaged in Krishna. How can we be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness? Krishna says in Bhagavad, there is 15 places where you can see Krishna. If you go to the Bhagavad Gita verses, right, the 7th chapter, 15 places. One of them is when you drink water, raso ham apsukote, the taste in water. I am tasting water. So when you drink water, thank you, Krishna, for this water. When I am the sun, I am the moon. When you go out, you can see the moon. Thank you for the bright light. It is vitamin D. Right. So like that, each and 15 places we can see. That way you can be completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, plus doing your own activities, responsible activities. So topmost, see, as example of a topmost yogi, Srila Prabhupada describes the life of King Ambarisha. We can see in the purport we did in that. So the principle in his yoga practice was to engage his mind and all his senses in service of Supreme Lord. What are those? Number 1, he fixes his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Number 2, his words in describing the abode of Krishna. 3, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord. 4, the ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Number 5, the eyes in seeing the form of the Lord. Number 6, the body in touching the body of the devotee. Number 7, the nostrils in smelling the flavor of flowers and tulsi leaves which are offered to the Lord. And number 8, tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him, right? And also chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, taking prasadam. Number 9, his legs in traveling to the holy place where his temple is situated. 10, his head in offering obeisances to the Lord. And 11, his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. So his consciousness was fixed on the Lord, right, by the devotional service. So in this connection, Srila Prabhupada quotes Acharya Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, who stated, the senses can be completely controlled by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. So when Durvasa Muni became angry with King Abarisha and wanted to kill him, right? Ambarish Maharaj kept his mind and senses fully under control. How? By accepting the situation as the mercy of Krishna. And he came out victorious. This is a very significant point. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that Ambarish Maharaj, being a devotee of the Lord, no, he silently tolerated all the injustices. Silently tolerated. Tolerance is very important. So this was possible because he was completely engaged in the service of the Lord. It is an important message for all of us, right? We are all struggling to increase our tolerance limit in the midst of all these injustice, calamities of our own minds, right? As well as for the others also. And this age is known as quarrel, hypocrisy, age of quarrel and hypocrisy, Kali Yuga. See, Srila Prabhupada, he concludes in his book, The Path of Perfection. He says, Maharaj Ambarisha was an ordinary king, but his one great qualification was that he was always thinking of Krishna. He was more busier than all of us here today, right? So his mind was always controlled. He was situated at the highest perfectional level of yoga. We also can be very easily controlling the mind by keeping it fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna. Simply by thinking of Krishna, we become victorious, topmost yogis. See, at the present moment, 99.99% of the world's population, right? Everybody identifies with this gross material body. Krishna in the beginning said, we are not this body, we are spirit souls, but everybody only thinks of the body. That's why in Bhagavad Gita 3.42, Krishna explains that the soul in the material world is conditioned by four material coverings, which together constitute the material body. Indriyani parani ahur, indriyabhya param manah, manasastu parabuddhe, yo buddhe paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So the soul is covered by gross matter, the material body, right? And the senses. And subtle matter, which is the mind and intelligence, right? So this is covered. Soul is covered by all these. Coverings are successively finer and finer in quality. And the center is the eternal soul. So the finer than the soul is the super soul, Paramatma, the localized aspect of the personality of Godhead, right? He is situated next to the soul in the heart. And even finer, the super soul is the supreme personality of God, Bhagavan, Shri Krishna. So in the pure state of consciousness, the soul is fully aware of his own spiritual identity and is acting in his eternal loving relationship with Krishna. So the soul experiences ecstatic love for Krishna at every moment. And in this blissful state, he desires lovingly to serve the Lord. But in the material conditional state, what happens? We desire to satisfy the demands of the material body. See, we may even sometimes feel even aversion to the idea of serving Krishna also. So when the body is troubled by disease, what happens? One may lose the determination to perform the devotional service and forget Krishna. First thing, anything happens to us, right? Body, whatever it is. First thing is chanting beads are by the side. Krishna is out of the window. So in this state of bodily consciousness, one has to remain locked, right? In fearful wheel of birth and death. Material body is destined to give a lot of pain, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. So it is our task as devotees of Krishna to develop such a strength of love for Krishna, right? In all his parts and parcels, that we will remain determined to serve them, even in the presence of threefold miseries. That's why in Bhagavad Gita 2.56 we saw, right? Dukeshu anidvignamanaha, Sukheshu vikataspraha, Vitaraga bhayakrudha, Sita dhir munir uchyate. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So, how to develop this steadiness of mind? That's what in 2.61 senses can be completely controlled by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. So, by practicing devotional service in association of devotees, we will have the opportunity to pass all these tests of the threefold miseries, right? by remaining fixed in the attitude of dasanudas, or being servant of the Lord, right? And in that attitude, we can carry on our service, even though we may experience some bodily discomfort. See, because we focus, consistency is more important. See, a honest look in ourselves, right? It will reveal that the present capacity to maintain that attitude of dasanudas is very low. But this is not a disqualification. Be encouraged. We are doing it. Just now we finished this wonderful Purushottam Mass, right? Everybody was so much eager to do so much devotional activities. In fact, my mother is telling, Prabhu, today is the last day. Tomorrow, what will you do? Vacuum, coming, right? No vacuum. Whatever you do, continue doing that. Increase, right? So we will surely attain that benediction to remain satisfied, fixed in devotional service in all conditions. Sudama Vipra was embarrassed, right, to offer Krishna that humble offering of chipped rice we brought for him. He was not allowed, feeling like giving. Now, because of that chipped rice, right, that was the best he had to offer, right? And because he only wanted to please Krishna, then Krishna became so completely pleased, he reciprocated wonderfully. Sudama Vipra was far beyond his imagination, right? So, in this way, anyone can invoke the loving reciprocation from Krishna, provided we serve the Lord sincerely to our best capacity. See, after all, Krishna is the proprietor of all things. The only thing which we really have to offer is our sincere endeavor to please Him. And by following the example of Sudama Vipra, in offering the best we have in the service to Krishna, be it opulent or simple, every conditioned soul in this world can be delivered from the state of bodily consciousness. It's guaranteed. See, by developing Krishna consciousness, such a mentally intoxicated soul can at last get a real sense of peace and satisfaction. Krishna explains how this can take place very directly in 2.61. So, the basis of peace is to fix the intelligence on one perfect goal. And such a state of intelligence is called Vyavasatmika Buddhihi, one pointed intelligence. The Parashar Muni accept Krishna as the ultimate goal on which to fix the intelligence. Parashar Muni has stated that one who is full in six opulences, Krishna, right? Full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation, is Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So while Krishna was present on this earth and displayed all six opulences, so great sages like Parashar Muni they've all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by accepting Krishna as the ultimate goal of life, right, the heart of a devotee becomes right very peaceful, and all the mental engagements will go away automatically, and you will attain perfect peace. The price one has to pay in order to fully get this experience is to accept the process of devotional service, which Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita. And by discharge of devotional service unto Krishna, Krishna reveals himself to the devotee. So let us all fix our consciousness on Shri Krishna as the goal of our lives through sincere practice of devotional service. So very important. So a lot of things to be said, but there are a few points which I felt very okay. One final point: how we can control the senses in our day-to-day life. Savaimana Krishna Padaravindu, to constantly engage our mind in the lotus feet of Krishna. The example of Ambarish Maharaj, where is very beautifully given here. Right? So this is the point to understand. And after seeing even about the example of Ambarish Maharaj, we still have doubts, right? Prabhu, how can I see Krishna in everything all the time? This will be question. We will argue. How can I see Krishna everything in all the time? That is next to impossible. Srimad Bhagavatam gives us a practical way to control the mind and engage it in Krishna's service through the transcendental instruction of Jadabrata in 5:11:17 of Bhagavatam. 5:11:17 of Bhagavatam. Bhratravyamenam Bhratravyamenam tadadapraviryam upekshayadhyeditam apramatah Guror Haresh Charnopasanastro Jahi Vedikam Swayamatma Mosham. This uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. The mind will become victorious. Although mind is not factual, it is very strong. We cannot see the mind, but it's so strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So, by serving the lotus feet of the spiritual master and spiritual Prabhupada and Krishna, strictly following their instructions, very important, we can control the mind and automatically engage in remembering Krishna all the time. Grantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur, Premandir Vancha Kalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhavayavacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo, Antakodi Vaishnava ki jai. Thank you very much, Padaji, for this opportunity to glorify the Lord and be with us. If you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam to everybody assembled.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat